let's get started, shall we? It is Friday, finally. I know they say thank God it's Friday, but yeah, I think it's enough to be thankful for. It's a beautiful morning right here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. You're welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
Yes, indeed, as always, we straddle grace, ease, and strength. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Brief. It's a fantastic Friday, and we hope that you are as fantastic as ever this beautiful Friday morning. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
You know, I'm just looking across social media and taking a look at what people are saying, particularly in the aftermath of the minimum wage announcement. And, you know, different strokes for different folks. A lot of people from 250,000 to 70,000, they were like, okay, interesting, nice negotiation. Some people said, well, it was a no-brainer anyway, but here's a good part, at least for the workers. So if this is meant to take effect from May, right, because the federal government said it will be backdated till May. So imagine the minimum wage earner, we need to make the distinction here. The minimum wage earner got 30,000 in May, got 30,000 in June. Now that it's been increased to 70, so it means that naturally, that person should get the 40,000 naira arrears for May, the 40,000 naira arrears for June, and then the 70,000 naira for July. So altogether, 70 plus 80, that's 150,000 naira. By my own calculation, that is expected to land in the account of that minimum wage earner at the end of this month. I'm not calculating your money for you, but that's just like one part of the story. What happens to state? What happens to the private sector? It's a lot, really, and this is something we're big on the show this morning. We're big on the show this morning, but it's the morning after the minimum wage, and I tell you, it looks like that journey has just begun, guys.
Well, indeed, as far as the private sector is concerned, they had already begun to pay above the former 30,000 naira minimum wage, you know, which has now been upgraded to 70,000 naira. So really, it's just for them to settle into the new regime. What their own proposal was during the during the negotiation before they arrived at this figure is what we're not quite sure of, because they also were moving up a little more during the negotiation. But it just may be a consensus for all parties, albeit a Pyrrhic victory for Labour, considering where Labour was coming from. And Labour, you know, had to consider so many other variables in order to arrive at this. We're going to talk about that on the program today, but what impact will it have on inflation? Because so many other sectors, the real sector, you know, manual workers, they're waiting to also collect their own share of the minimum wage from what has been paid. You know, but I believe that all sectors of labor will be grateful this morning. But as far as gratitude is concerned, maybe not everyone. And, you know, I can't help but talk about the situation in Edo State. The family of Inspector Okon, who was killed yesterday, will certainly not be grateful this morning. They'll be rethinking their options. And it just speaks to how far we've come in our democracy, or how far we're yet to go more realistically in our democracy, particularly because when you see some of those videos that came in, it was pretty much a rally that was unarmed and, not particularly designed to alter the peace. And yet, not long afterwards, the people were shot at. By no means, this is not who we are as a people, and it is totally condemnable. Whoever it is, you know, the masterminds of this, we must do better by ourselves, because the whole world is watching. They do not watch just on when we're, conducting general elections, but also, you know, during testy times as this. And we must move on from politics of desperation to politics of maturity, you know, team spirit, right. And this must end.
And talking about this must end, I recall yesterday we asked the legal practitioner, the one that joined us on the show, how do you ensure this doesn't degenerate into a crisis? We see what's happening in River State and some other states that have gone through this political crisis, and the result of it, they say when when two elephants fight, the grass suffers, and you forget that you're actually there to rule, and people are suffering 1 year after, 2 years after. It's still a political row because two people do not want to agree. And we see that has happened now in Edo State in just how many, in a space of very short space, very short space. I mean, no one expected that will happen yesterday. So it also delves into consideration when people do things, forgiveness, and so many other things that people should consider, especially because they are there to serve people. I mean, you were appointed there, so service should be your first priority. And also about the minimum wage, we have discussions and conversations around, okay, so if some states can afford to pay 70,000, what happens to states that cannot afford that? We've seen some states still struggling to pay just 18,000 naira as minimum wage. So what now happens to those who suffer this? While some states are getting 70,000, some might even just get 15,000 at the end of the day. What are the steps towards making sure that these states definitely pay that 70,000 naira or can afford to pay that 70,000 naira? Most of the states that can't even afford it are the ones that actually need that money because there are security problems, the challenges of food, malnutrition, and a lot of this who actually need more than the 70,000 naira. But in any case, definitely the delving into discussions about that implications on the economy and of course the way forward.
Absolutely. So let's get right into what we have for you today. I bet you can guess what the very first talking point would be. Yes, as we said, it's a morning after Labour and the federal government agreed on 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage. So we're getting in all of the reactions on the show this morning, essentially taking a look at what the federal government has been cooking, the ingredients that the federal government has put into the pot. They said the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So they've put different things into this soup, but how are Nigerians finding the taste? Don't forget that the House of Reps have also said they're cutting their salaries in half for the next 6 months to give the money towards fighting hunger. So how are all these ingredients coming together? We'll find out on the show this morning.
Very commendable by the House of Representatives.
It's just funny how one letter can
change everything, right? Very commendable, but maybe they can go a step further, by cutting their allowances in half, because that's where the big pot of soup and all of the varieties are found. But hey, we're Oliver Twist this morning. Apart from that, we open the curtains on a revealing conversation as we delve into the spotlight of Nigeria's entertainment industry, from the thrill of live performances to the craft of captivating audiences. We'll uncover the secrets of stage drama and how they compare with the big screen. It's showtime, ladies and gentlemen.
And talking about showtime, let's get ready to bounce your way to a stronger, leaner, and even more confident you. In our fitness segment on the show today, we're inflating the fun with the ultimate fit ball workout. Now, this dynamic ball is not just a prop, it's a game changer. Improving your posture, your balance, strengthening your core muscles, and of course, increasing flexibility. Well, Coach Beauty will join us on the show.
Oh, yes. So we're going to be merging beauty.
I like the part of flexibility.
Oh, yeah. So it's a full package, as we always say. Well, another word for that is a bumper package, according to Bukola. So how about you sharing this largesse this morning? Get doing this on social media, hashtag CTV Morning Brief, or on that WhatsApp number right there. We're big on your comments, your questions. You see a lot of them coming through on the show this morning, so send them in. There you have that number, your questions, your reaction to the new minimum wage, 70,000 naira. What do you think about that? Is that good enough? That's more than times two what was being paid previously. So does that really push the needle for you? Let us know what you think on the show this morning. We're here for you over the next 1+ hours. We'll be doing this. So we're getting started with the very top stories that will form the talking point. So stay right here with us. It's the Morning Brief. one of the biggest stories at this time. Now, by the end of this month, when minimum wage earners in Nigeria receive their salaries, well, they'll be getting more than ×2 of the 30,000 naira which they received last month, following the agreement between the federal government and the leadership of organized labor to peg the new minimum wage at 70,000 naira. Well, speaking after the meeting, which was presided over by President Bola Tinubu, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, said, in addition, the federal government will make more investment in renewable energy and the acquisition of CNG buses. The labor leaders, on their part, shared the decision to review the minimum wage every 3 years.
The federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage. The new national minimum wage that we expect Mr. President to submit to the National Assembly for legislation is 70,000 naira. But that is not all. There is also a boost, like Mr. President has assured, in ensuring that massive investment is going to be made in the area of infrastructure. There is also a deepening of the investment of the federal government in renewable energy. More money is going to go into the acquisition of more buses, the CNG buses. Nigeria is going to be more CNG compliant, according to the president. We are moving in this transition to renewable.
We are taking this with mixed feeling because of the situation of the economy. But we have to move ahead, despite the situation, and the negotiation can linger, coming from 62 to 70, and then with the promise that we'll come back soon.
A long journey up till this point, so don't worry, we'll be getting to that journey, and more importantly, the journey ahead. But that's not all that came out of that meeting with President Bola Tinubu. He's also directed that the concerns of members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and those of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, SANU, should be looked into and the modalities worked out to pay them. Well, this was disclosed by the Minister of State for Labor leaders after that meeting with President Tinubu at the State House. The academic unions are demanding the payment of their 4 months withheld salaries and the renegotiation of the 2010 agreement with the federal government, among other demands. Now to the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives is urging proponents of the proposed nationwide protests to shelve the plan and consider patience and dialogue with the government instead. Well, this follows a motion of urgent national importance raised by Honorable Ibrahim Isiaka. The House agreed that the challenges are not unique to Nigeria, and here's how that went.
There is no representative here who doesn't believe that problems that we refer to did not just arise overnight. It is a compilation of years of difficulties that piled up. There's an agreement in our mind also that 1 year is not enough to resolve Hydra-headed problems. The parliament is calling on Nigerians, please bear with the government a little longer so that these policies will begin to see the light of the day. Thank you as I appeal to this house to in one voice support and be willing, if the leadership calls, for us to make sacrifices with our salary. Just a little pain for us to be able to provide food for our people. Our salary is 500,000 naira. That we look at a percentage of that salary.
For point of correction, is 600.
Oh, 600, sorry. But my own doesn't get up to 600 when I receive it, sir. Maybe some deductions. But based on what you have said, Your Excellency, I'm moving that we amend that prayer to include that members sacrifice maybe 50% of our salary for a period of 3 months or 6 months to help Nigerians and to show that we are in support.
And now to Edo State, where the reinstated Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Shaibu's return home yesterday afternoon began as a joyful moment, but then turned sour following gunshots on the airport road outside the airport. At least one person, a mobile police officer attached to the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Monday Okpebolo, was reportedly killed in that incident. In fact, he was killed in that incident, I should say. Yes, those were earlier reports, but it's since been confirmed that he's been killed. The Edo State Command of the police has issued a warning on political thuggery, noting that anyone culpable will be made to face the law. The state's Commissioner of Police, Funsho Adeboye, made this statement while confirming the killing of Inspector Onoako, attached to APC governorship candidate during that homecoming reception for the reinstated Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Shaibu. Addressing journalists at the police command headquarters in Benin City, the Edo State capital, the police spokesperson, Superintendent of Police Chidi Nwabuzo, said the incident occurred at about 11 a.m., shortly after the entourage left the Benin airport.
Today, it was recorded that Right Honorable Philip Shaibu and Mr. Monday Okpebolo, the gubernatorial candidate of a certain political party in Edo State, running for the upcoming gubernatorial election comes September 21st, 2024, that both of them arrived Benin Airport from Abuja, and their supporters besieged the exit gate of Benin Airport. That is to say, precisely along Airport Road, as they were welcoming them, chanting songs. Suddenly, people started shooting sporadically from nowhere, and unfortunately the stray bullet hit one Inspector Onoako, serving at 45 police PMF, and eventually he was rushed to hospital. On his way, he gave up the ghost.
Well, the police spokesperson confirming the sad death of the police inspector. Meanwhile, the Edo State governor's spokesperson, Mr. Crusoe Osage, has denied allegations that the governor, Godwin Obaseki, or his supporters are behind yesterday's violence that led to the death of the policeman. Let's head over to the courts now, where the Court of Appeal in Abuja has dismissed an appeal by suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari seeking to quash the drug trafficking charge filed against him. In a judgment, a three-member panel of the appellate court dismissed Kyari's appeal for lacking in merit. Justice Adebukola Banjoko, who read the lead judgment, held that there was no reason to tamper with the findings and conclusions reached by the trial court on March the 22nd rather. Well, let's talk education now. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, has made a U-turn on the decision to fix 18 years as a minimum entry age for candidates. At the 2024 annual policy meeting on admissions attended by stakeholders in tertiary education in Abuja, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB also adopted 40 as a cutoff mark for the 2024 admission into the nation's universities, just as it approved 100 for polytechnics and colleges of education. Business news now. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has approved the sale of foreign exchange to eligible bureau de change operators at 1,450 naira to a dollar. Well, the Apex Bank said the sum of $20,000 is to be sold to each BDC at the rate of 1,450 naira to the dollar, representing the lower band of trading rate at NAFEM in the previous trading day. In a statement, the CBN's acting director in charge of Trade and Exchange Department, Ali Mahdi, said the Apex Bank has observed the continued distortions in the retail end of the market, which is feeding into the parallel market and further widening the exchange rate premium. On the foreign scene now, former U.S. President Donald Trump has described how he narrowly survived an attempt on his life, telling a rapt audience at the Republican National Convention in his first speech since the attack that he was only there by the grace of God. When he told the crowd that he was not supposed to be here, the delegates chanted back that yes, you are, with photos of a bloodied Trump showing on screens behind them. Now, Trump praised the Secret Service agents that rushed to his side and paid tribute to the volunteer firefighter who was killed, Corey Comparatore, kissing his fire helmet. And now to sports news with the Minister of Sports Development. Senator John Eno is assuring Nigerians that the nation's team to the 2024 Paris Olympics will surpass the records at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Speaking at Abuja during a media parley, Senator Eno says athletes representing Nigeria at the Paris Olympics have been well motivated and properly tutored to win laurels for the country. The minister also reiterated his commitment to ensure that allowances due to all the athletes are paid in good time. Well, there you have it, the top stories at this hour. Of course, they will form the talking points on the show and in the coming hours. But what are you saying about this major stories? Bukola joins me to walk through your comments right now. Bukola, what do
I like you, Cardi. Hello again, by the way. I've been looking at some of these reactions, and they're a product of deep thinking, and it just speaks to that saying that you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you certainly can't fool all of the people all of the time. And for those who choose to be fooled, they're probably being rewarded on the other side. So we'll start with, of course, the big talking point, and you see some of what I'm saying, and it's on federal government and labor's agreement on 70,000 naira new minimum wage. And the first one is from Mind Talks, who says, now that is reasonable. Salary increase coming up, inflation also coming to remove every joy from the Nigerian worker. So they know the realities. Coyote.
Well, Mind Talks. Why are you pooping the party already? But I mean, these are issues we'll have to deal with.
Indeed.
But they say we'll cross the bridge when we get there. Kanuti says this is better than 30,000 naira, but not enough considering the realities of the day. This will translate to more money in circulation, and this user thinks possibly another round of uptick in inflation. Brace up, this user says.
Indeed, and this next one is from Aki Somi, who says, well, 133% increase on minimum wage is a massive jump. Also, agreeing to the 3-year review cycle instead of 5 years is a very good one. God bless everyone for the resolution, and hope and pray for a better Nigeria. That's a positive one.
I guess this next user does a breakdown, goes back in time, I shall say. Carter Mills, that's the handle, says, good luck, Billy Jonathan, paid 18,000 naira. Fuel, 87 naira. Rice, 7,000 naira per bag, I imagine. Dollar, 150 to 180 naira to the dollar. Then moved on to Buhari's administration, paid 30,000 naira. Fuel, 145. Rice, 45 to 55,000. Dollar, 460 to 700 naira to $1. Now, this is a comes to the current administration. 70,000 naira, that's the increment. Petrol is between 600 to 700, well, depending on where you're buying it. Sometimes it's more, by the way. Rice, 80 to 90 to 100,000. Dollar, 15 to 17. So basically, this user is doing a breakdown.
Absolutely.
No
and
comments,
I love
just a
this.
breakdown.
I love this.
Yeah.
So, let's just stay here for a bit, Kadi. For these 3 administrations, these 3 breakdowns, under which would the masses be breathing?
Let us know. Under which of them. But that's the breakdown. Brilliant one from Carter Mills.
Yeah, indeed. And this next one is from Mr. Dipo, who says, a 50 kg bag of local rice is currently selling for 80k. I bought 85k just about early last week or so.
Local rice.
The local rice. A family of 5 will likely consume 25 kg monthly. Transport fare is over the roof. So these are issues, big issues that the administration should be considering. And some will be asking, where are those CNG buses, by the way? The second round of monies have been disbursed for CNG buses, but the first round has not brought in those CNG buses.
So I think it's just clear that they need to target food, transport. Those are the things that got a lot of money from Nigerians. This next user, it's just us, that's Bliss_up says, yes, that's credible enough. After many struggles, they later shift ground on that. So this user focuses on state government. They should welcome the new minimum wage, but thinks that the struggle will continue because food inflation is still not controlled. So obviously, let's pay attention to food. But states as well. What are states going to say? First, they had local government judgment to contend with. Now the new minimum wage. Quite a lot on the table of states, Bukola.
Quite a lot, and we'll be delving into that much later on. Well, still on the situation of the economy, and this time around, the response is from the legislative arm of government. Reps slash salaries by 50% over nationwide hunger. Now, how those monies will be disbursed over the next 6 months is what we really do not know. And how much will it really amount to? 50% of their salaries times 360 lawmakers representing all the constituencies of the federation.
Let me just do a quick crunch. So 300,000. It says they earn 600,000-ish. So 300,000 times 360. So that's about 108 million.
Over a period of 6 months.
Times 6.
Yeah.
That's 648 million.
So what intervention would that
let us know.
Yes, serve? but Nigerians are grateful, and indeed this is a very selfless act by the House of Representatives. This next reaction, or the first rather, is from Lucky Man, who says it's not about slashing salaries. They should earn based on the minimum wage structure. That's the best way to go. Anything else aside that, well, you conclude it.
So lawmakers earn 70,000 naira. Is that your proposal? Well, let's see how that plays out. I think we're getting there gradually. That Mr. Krim says slash allowances, slash the next year budget of NAS by 60% or more, then we'll believe that they're ready for change.
But whether they slash allowances or not, definitely government also needs to consider cutting the cost of governance.
Absolutely.
Much more than the implementation of the Oronsai report, which has been frowned at as not really, addressing real issues. And the next one is from Gabriel Isaiah, who says they should rather. Well, he starts by saying stories. That's skepticism, I believe. They should rather forfeit their allowances and take salaries if they mean business. Civil servants get salaries. Politicians should be taking only salaries. Some of their allowances are 300% of their annual salary. So Nigerians are agreed on the fact that the allowances is where the spice is.
We've had former speakers say, well, it's over 20 million and the rest. So that is where Nigerians are paying attention to right now. So it looks like there's a consistency in the reaction from Nigerians on this one. So let's move on to another matter that has just gotten a lot of people talking yet again. And it's this, there was a meeting, a major meeting for, policymakers within the tertiary education sector. It was chaired by the Minister of Education. And it was there that I said, let's peg the entry age for tertiary institutions at 18. But then there was a back and forth debate, and he said, it's not possible because people who wrote JAM, some of them are 16 years already anyway. So there was a shifting of ground to 16 as admission age for 2024. So this first user, Roland Isioro, says it shouldn't be just for 2024 at a time when employers are looking for fresh graduates between the ages of 21 and 23 for employment. One man is saying that they should wait till they are 18 before they could be admitted. What happened to the 16 years policy that has been applicable over the years? So this is being, factual now, being realistic, because that's what you find out. So if you enter at 18, you're most likely going to graduate 22 if there are no strikes. So that's plus X, right?
Well, it reminds me of our conversation on the mass failure of WAEC and JAM, I believe. I think it was WAEC, and some of the issues raised was the lack of immaturity mentally and physically of some students who are admitted into universities, and at the level where they are in their final year, they're not particularly ready for the challenge, the mental challenge of examinations, and that may be a factor that is also responsible for failure. It's something to reflect on, that all stakeholders, all wards should reflect on as they nurture the young ones. So this next reaction is from Operation Unify Eze, who says 16 years is too high. What happens to geniuses? There should be no age barrier to university admission. Capacity is what matters.
There you go. It's yet again a consistent reaction. Olamide Osimoso also says it's understandable due to how less secured our institutions are for minors But it still does not make sense that you be 22 before you can bag a degree. Don't forget, you still have to serve, by the way. So that's extra 1 year. So you're most likely 23 and you're just reaching the end of that range for employment. But hey, it's not like that everywhere. So that's what you're saying. There was also the decision on the cutoff mark by JAM, putting at 140 for universities, 100 for polytechnics and educations, and colleges of education, right? So that's also elicited a lot of reactions from Nigeria.
And this first one is from Hamid Abubakar, who says, we used to get 200 in JAM, but we're still not able to get admission. Wrote it 5 times, and all above the then cutoff mark was 180. I weep for this generation now. Isn't 140 an invitation to failure? But well,
Well, I think obviously we need to retool our education sector, but let's know what you think. It's a big debate, one that we're definitely going to have. But we'll take a moment now on the show, and when we return, on our table, we have the big stories. We're eating big this morning. So, well, join us on this table and let's have a feast.
And maybe Kade will tell me what he got, in his JAM exam, but I passed better than him. Anyway, after this break.
Stay with us.
welcome. It is still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. And now we go into the main discussion for the day, which is the new minimum wage. We already know that the president had already approved 70,000 naira as minimum wage. The CUC and NLC already agreed. The organized labor met with the president. That's 1 week after the first meeting with the president, saying that, all right, we now agree to 70,000 naira. Of course, the NLC had already given reasons why they agreed to this. They say incentives that followed this decision is the reason they have agreed to it. So it means that 70,000 naira, that's about $43 for every, for the lowest, to give to any staff in the country. And we have joining us on the program right now, Shehu Onibide. He's the co-founder Budget, is joining us via Zoom. And of course, Professor Ademola Abbas is Professor of Law and Global Affairs Analyst, is joining us from our Abuja studios to discuss this. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the morning brief. Let's begin with Shehu Onibide. He's a co-founder of Budget. The first question will be, how did this even begin in the first place? 70,000 naira as minimum wage. The reps have already said, be calm about this. House of Rep members have said, okay, for this reason, we have also cut our own by 50%. Is this enough?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a great conversation. It's not enough in my own view, but it's a great start. Because when you look at minimum wage, you have to divide it in two levels. One, I understand that this is the minimum wage for a class of people. And also two, this is an household income. You have to look from an household perspective. So if you have two people in an household who have technically earned 140,000, you have to look at what would be an household income at 140,000 naira in a month. What can that buy? What can that do for a family of maybe of 5 or 6? So if you put it in that context, maybe especially you won't adjust that from a least expensive environment, maybe not like Lagos, maybe not you live in the island of Lagos or in the highbrow in Abuja. You also look at environments maybe in Oyo, in Zamfara, in Bauchi, in Gombe. You say, what can that do? So for you to say it's minimum, it looks like a great start. I've seen some states like Rivers, I think Edo are paying above that already. So in some sort of way, it's the minimum. It doesn't mean that every state or every establishment should be fixed to that. It just means that as a nation, this is where we have set the benchmark as minimum. So I feel it's a great start. It doesn't look great as I wanted it to be. I was hoping we could get something within the 100 to 120,000 corridor because things are really that bad in terms of galloping levels of inflation. But the government has left a window that within 3 years, there's an opportunity to revise this current minimum wage. So we will look forward to that. And maybe by then there will be clear arguments about the fact that the current inflation situation that we have right now is worrisome. And whatever minimum wage or whatever increase that we're talking about now, it's just not enough at all.
Professor Ademola Abbas, as a professor of international law and how it's done globally, what are the implications for states that cannot afford to pay the 70,000 naira minimum wage? What is the impact, and what do you think will be done if they cannot afford to pay this amount?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Well, it is a very interesting one because the federal government obviously has given a directive by approving 70,000 naira minimum wage for every worker. Well, it's entirely up to states now to comply to that, and they must do that in the interest of their own people, of the workers of the state. But we must understand the reality that not every state is equally endowed in Nigeria. There are some states that are already paying probably very close to 70,000 naira or even beyond 70,000 naira, per month. And there will be some states that are going to struggle a lot. We must understand also that there are many states that have not been even able to pay 30,000 naira minimum wage. Some of them have owed their workers several months down the road and so on and so forth. The question is, how are we going to be sure those states are going to be able to step up to be able to implement 70,000. In terms of implication, number one, if a state is not able to pay 70,000 naira, well, you risk, number one, losing a cohort of workers who might, there's going to be, I suspect there's going to be a lot of migration now from state to state, because at the end of the day, if your responsibilities are much greater than what 70,000 naira per month can address anyway, and a state you're working in is telling you they cannot pay up to that or something like that, or they're going to struggle, you have every incentive, every motivation to be able to move to another part of the country, another state where you think the cost of living is going to be lower and you are going to be able to earn what to be able to address that. I think what is also important is globally, we have to understand that it's not just about increasing wages. You can increase wages and inflation keeps rising. Look, for me as an example, there's not big difference between 70,000 naira today and you are not able to buy a bag of rice with that. I'm paying 30,000 naira and you could buy a bag of rice actually for 11,000, 12,000, 15,000 naira. So I think what the government should do, one must say, what this government has done in making this increment from 30 to 70 is commendable, whether we like it or not. It's highly commendable. However, what the government now needs to do is to work very hard to bring down the inflation. That is when this particular wage is going to have decisive and desirable impact on the working masses of Nigeria.
Let me take this back to Sheung. And yes, we've been on this for quite some time now, this journey to 70,000. So while it represents, some say a progress, absolutely, more than times two of what was being paid before, I am concerned about the journey ahead, the coming days, weeks, and months. And I think Prof. Abbas also has spoken to that. So let's try to maybe look into the future and take a look at, maybe troubleshoot, do some scenario planning. What are those issues that we're bound to start dealing with as a result of this 70,000 naira minimum wage increase? So maybe think into the future and try to proffer solutions such that it doesn't meet us as a surprise.
Definitely, we are going to have a situation, and we start from the states. How many states will be able to afford to pay 70,000 naira minimum wage, and at the right scale? Because this is the minimum wage, so they're supposed to build the graduation up to like maybe level 16, level 18, and things like that. And the whole of state, you find that incremental elements to that does not just exist as it should. So in my own view, it's extremely clear that we will see a whole of states that will push back. There were states that just started implementing the 30,000 naira minimum wage recently. So definitely we would face that challenge as we go along the way, where some certain states will push back and say, we can't just do this. And I think there's a huge windfall that states are experiencing now due to the increase in revenue or FAC allocation being distributed. But also there's also increased cost of capital project implementation. So you're going to have challenges there. So it's also a time to watch the fiscals for the state. The other thing is also to even look at the federal government itself. How there's a new adjustment into the budget that was proposed, and we are here to see full details about that. And there's a recurring component of that is nearly around 3 trillion naira. So it's also very important to see, and I know that a chunk of that is going to the minimum wage adjustment. So how the federal government also is able to keep to this without excessive borrowing. Without going back to what President Buhari regime did, which was to constantly get the CBN to provide overdraft for it and constantly just inflating the economy in the long run. So in a way, the ability of even the federal government to meet this, as well as other capital obligations, will also have to be watched, because we always assume that the federal government has an infinite bucket of money, but it doesn't have that. So we also have to even look at how the federal government responds to this. The private sector is also very critical. And I know that even in the previous minimum wage, a whole lot of institutions like private educational institutions, private security companies did not even comply with that previous minimum wage. So it's also very good to look at the range of how Nigerians react, especially those while hiring formal workers. What does that look like? So it would be cool to maybe take a survey within a year to see what's the level of compliance with minimum wage. I think we need a lot of think tank and a lot of research and evidence in that environment. Yeah.
Well, so for me, I'd like us to look at what may have gone into bargaining on both sides. And we heard the NLC president say yesterday during our sister political program that, when they insisted on 250,000 naira, that the president said, look, if you allow me to increase the pump price of fuel, then I can give you 250,000 naira. But even at that, the pump price of fuel has been going up since May, when fuel subsidy was removed and the pump price of fuel went up to 500 naira per liter. As we speak in Lagos, there's 750,000 naira, 750 naira per liter being sold in some petrol stations. So you wonder how valid the reasoning of the president is on that one. And on the other hand, weeks ago, when the federal government announced the Reconstruction and Household Support Program, there was a component for labor, which is what the federal government calls provision for labor unions and civil society organizations. So has there been some compromise in labor agreeing to this amount?
Yeah, I mean, and I like that point. It's something big to watch to inflation. Because let's not agree, we are in 34% inflation now. Food inflation is over 40%. So in some sort of way, if we are being honest with ourselves, there is no it doesn't mean like because you have more money in your pocket, it doesn't mean that it carries higher value. And that was what Prof was also trying to mention. Inflation will have to be significantly watched. And I think they missed an opportunity by benchmarking some of these increases to inflation. Letting the federal government also understand that it's not just about we want a 3% increase. It's not just about that. It's also to be very certain about if that increase is significant enough, to actually protect the dignity, or to even get people to even exist within this economy. So definitely, inflation is a trend to be watched. What we have right now is unhealthy. I don't think in my adult life, I was seeing a 34% inflation. And it seems that it's not slowing down, it's not tapering. As long as the exchange rate keeps losing value, as long as commodity prices keep increasing, as long as food insecurity or what you would look at in terms of the insecurity in the central region and in the other components of the country.
Mr. Libinde, besides, pardon me if I may come in there, besides the point about inflation, I'm asking if you think that labor may have compromised in accepting 70,000 naira minimum wage, because in the livestock, in the household construction program announced weeks ago, the federal government included what it calls provision for labor unions and civil society organization. So what does that mean in the context of labor choosing to agree to 70,000 naira?
Number one, let's be honest. I wouldn't say compromise, because they say money for labor and civil society. I have not seen any money. We're part of the civil society. There is no framework that's come back to civil society to say, oh, this is how we want to provide support to government or to civil society. This is what we want to support them on. There is no clarity in that in any way. So I don't know what that means. I mean, federal government keeps making a lot of promises, different segments of the economy. I think the implementation of that has not been adequate. The other part is also to say that labor negotiated in a very weird way. In this situation, because they carried with 1 million or 1.5 million. We knew that those things were not real. Even when it was at 250,000, it came across that it was unrealistic. So to you now come back and say, we just accept 70,000. I mean, that sounded a bit weird to me, and say, because you don't want fuel price increases. But I mean, the fuel price is around 750 naira per liter at this point. So definitely it doesn't seem like anything is changing. I think I expected them to have come down a little bit to around 100, 120,000, 110,000. That sounded more reasonable. To jump from 250,000 and just accept 70,000 sounded like it was not like a proper negotiation framework there. But at the end of the day, people will look around and say 133% increase, one of the highest in recent times. It would be we will take it. But let's also not agree that these are unprecedented times. This is an economy with a 34% inflation, with food inflation over 40%. It doesn't seem normal in any way. Yeah.
All right. right, Mr. Professor Abdemola Abbas, maybe you'd like to respond to that question also that's Mr. Sheon just answered to, and also would talk about the cost of living crisis, but answer to that first, then we can ask about the cost of living crisis.
Well, thank you very much. I think I sort of understand where you are coming from, and I also understand the response by Mr. Sheon to your question. What you wanted to find out was whether Labour compromised, obviously because for them to climb down from 250 to 70, and because the president mentioned, making provisions for Labour and so on and so forth, which probably you were hinting at there could have been. Look, let's be honest. Even an average Nigerian today suspects the labor movement, and sometimes quite rightly so, because we've come from a generation of labor leaders that have different strengths, that have different strategies, that have different competencies, that also have shown different mettle in terms of principles and finesse. We remember labor leaders who stood their grounds in the past and fought justifiably and credibly to the minds of all Nigerians, and they never compromised in the language you are talking about. We've also seen labor leaders who shifted grounds and, to the accusation, rightly or wrongly made by the public, that, so the famous or infamous brown envelopes changed hand and this and that. But look, the truth is, we cannot say categorically, we cannot equate a statement made by the president about making provisions for labor to justify an assertion or to, solidify an assumption that, so therefore, labor compromise. Look, whether labor compromise or not, to be honest, for me, is not what is significant here, because we cannot prove that, an allegation or a rumor. What we should focus on, and I'm happy that my colleague, Mr. Sheon, did refer to that, was that Labour began this negotiation in a very highfalutin manner by asking for 1 million naira, and then began to climb it down. Something tells me Labour knew at that point in time that it couldn't get probably more than 100,000 naira from the federal government. But look, I grew up in a market square. I watched my mom, in market. Whenever she was selling her wares, people would come, and sometimes she wanted to sell some for, in those days, maybe a piece of fish for 3 naira. She would start by saying that I'm going to sell this for 20 naira. You have to negotiate down. So there's nothing wrong in Labour pitching it very high, knowing fully well that if they didn't do that, the government will not probably meet them where they wanted it. Imagine if the Labour had come out to say, look, we want 250,000 naira from the start. Government could have pushed them to 40,000 naira or even to 35,000 naira. But by starting with 1 million naira, you began to think that, no, that's way too unrealistic. Let's think about 100,000 naira to 150,000 naira. So I think that is, for me, again, the president said many things. He said many things to different segments of the society. It's a negotiation strategy. The government could have meant to say, look, you are labor people, you're working very hard for the country, we have incentives for you. It doesn't mean that the president is trying to compromise them or to bribe them, or labor is opening itself to be being bribed or being compromised. It might simply mean that, look, you need to meet us midway. If you are negotiating with somebody, you put all the carrots on the table, because labor at the end of the day, they live in Nigeria, they are Nigerians like us, so it is normal that you have all these negotiation strategies from both sides. I wouldn't automatically assume that Labour compromise. And again, let me make it very clear. I am not vindicating Labour. I'm not saying for a fact that Labour did not compromise. But what I'm saying is that if they did, there is no proof of that on the table. For me, as far as I'm concerned, 70,000 naira probably was a little bit below what Labour could have asked for. But in the reality of Nigeria, given the fact that Nigerians as a people, we have lived on a borrowed life for a long time. And we keep forgetting that. Yes, I saw the analysis that when Jonathan was there, this was the price of oil in the market. This was the exchange rate of dollar and this and that. Many things have happened since then that have catapulted the global economies worldwide, all over the world, to where we are now. So we cannot begin to compare apple with oranges, to be honest with you. That is not going to make, to me, an intelligent analysis.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Abbas. I like the parts where you said the reality right now. So let's go to Mr. Onigbinde. You have the numbers as a co-founder of Budget. You know the reality right now, where we are as a nation currently, and how this is impacting food and every other thing around us as individuals and as citizens of Nigeria. The federal government has said, or president has said, that we'll review this every 3 years. How realistic is this? We know what the drama and everything around how they even got to 70,000 naira. How do you think reviewing this every 3 years will be sustainable?
I mean, you see that in 3 years' time it's an election year. So maybe, I mean, there might be a political undertone in that, because let's not lie to ourselves. I mean, it took more than 5 years, to been able to even to get to where we are right now. So in some sort of way, I don't know how easy that would be. And if that even happens, it might be to score some political points, ahead of the elections. Just make sure that maybe makes a bit of workers happy, to maybe take a bit of votes from them. So I think that might be what it is. I don't see us even go through this process that took almost over a year, and now start back again. Because in my own view, when the subsidy was removed, the first thing that before that even happened, before the president made that announcement, this minimum wage issue should have been on the table, because it was clear to everybody that the removal of fuel subsidy and the exchange rate parity mechanisms were going to carry inflationary elements. It was evident to everybody. So things around subsidy for minimum wage, things around transport systems, things around food inflation, the things that you are supposed to have tackled or have a clear strategy about. So in my own view, it sounded more like a political settlement than reality. I'm not too optimistic that there is a plan to just revise minimum wage in 3 years' time. If that exists, that might just be to score political points here.
Right. So I'll still come back to you on those who can pay or not pay, because we need to begin to call them out, particularly because you've seen their figures, you've seen what they're doing in terms of IGR, how much dependent they are on FAC and the rest. So we'll maybe come to states that can pay or cannot pay, and the ones still struggling with the previous minimum wage. But I want to quickly go to Professor Abbas on this. So on a wider scale, there's been a lot of discontent from Nigerians, different quarters, both on and off social media. And that spurred the House of Representatives yesterday to have a resolution on this. And eventually they decided to cut their salaries in half. And we did a calculation, and it came to just about, 600 million naira for 6 months. That's how much they will be given towards, ending hunger. Now the new minimum wage has been announced. A couple of other measures, really, ingredients in making this soup, trying to placate Nigerians. For you, is this enough to back first the call for calm from the House of Representatives and to show proof that this government is really renewing the hope for Nigerians?
Thank you, Coyote, and nice to see you again. Look, let us separate the wheat from the chaff. Let us separate what I think is genuine effort by the federal government to address some challenges we have in Nigeria today. Either through things like student loan, now things like a minimum wage. We can argue about these things, about whether they are enough or they are not enough. But at least the federal government is making credible steps in those directions. I do not want to lump these measures with the rather cynical, gesture from the House of Representatives to say that, they wanted to, slash their salaries by 6 months. I say cynical because, number one, I'm actually beating back that the first time the House of Rep has told Nigerians how much they were earning in salary was when it came to the question of there's going to be a national protest. We want to do something. Oh, we earn 500,000 naira. No, it's 600,000 naira per month we earn. Let us forgo that by 6 months. Half of it by 6 months to be able to help Nigerians, or as the honorable member said yesterday, to be able to allow Nigerians to feed and stuff like that. I mean, this is, I'm sorry to say, a little, too much a gesture towards tokenism. We don't need tokenism from the National Assembly. And I think that is part of the problem, Coyote and the rest of the crew. And that is the fact that the federal government needs to understand that it continues to call on Nigerians to make sacrifices to ensure that all the short-term and long-term policies and plans the government is trying to put in place, quite understandably, to address the challenges we have in the country, bear fruit. The government, federal government, must ensure that Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, do not suffer disproportionately to the members of the government or government officials living as if we are still in 1999 or in those good old days. No, that is the point. I would have wanted a National Assembly and House of Rep or the Senate that would be far more proactive, far more empathic, far more sensitive to the sufferings of the people. But when you hear statements coming from the leadership, sometimes of the Senate and the leadership of House of Reps and the rank and file, you actually worry about whether they actually understand what is going on and whether they think those who will elect them in that position can take them as very serious in trying to discharge the mandate of the people. So, I mean, for those who care, maybe, cutting back their salaries or in half to feed Nigerians for 6 months might be something that somebody wants to remark. As far as I'm concerned, it's a rather cynical gesture. What the National Assembly needs to do is to sit down and devise means and credible ways of taking Nigeria out of the present economic logjam it found itself. And I'm not saying this is the creation of this particular government, no. And it's accumulation of several years of misgovernance, mismanagement, and lack of prioritizing what we should have prioritized. It's several years and decades, I think, of living on borrowed life. Because as Nigerians, we have lived on borrowed life for a long. We have punched above our weight. We have lived. We've lived as if there will be no tomorrow. But now we want to start now addressing all those things. Obvious, we can't do that overnight, and that is why we have to cut the government some slack. And we have to watch what the government is. The government is just about a year in power. We are hoping that they're going to continue the pace. I mean, just as my colleague said earlier on, in terms of reviewing this thing every 3 years, instead of 5 years, that's commendable. And given the record that the government, it is kind of the temerity the current government has shown in terms of at least listening and responding and having meetings, I'm mildly optimistic that they may be able to keep to that 3 years without obviously oversighting what the gentleman said in terms of this might be a political overtone. So I don't really think that the gesture from House of Representatives is anything to celebrate. I'm sorry. I think they need to do more. The Senate needs to do more.
Right.
They must understand they are people representatives, and that is very, very important.
Well, Mr. Onibide, for Prof, he thinks that it's cynical and they need to do more, even for the Senate. For you, how do you receive it? Because there's salaries, there's allowances, and there are other areas people are saying, how about you cut costs in these areas as well? So what would it be for you, Mr. Onibide?
I also don't accept it. I don't think it's reasonable enough to say, our salary by 50%. We know the devil is in the allowances. I mean, people tell us that an House of Rep member earns around 12 to 15 million naira now. Senator is, monthly. All the allowances and bonuses and all the payments are within that bracket. A senator is a little bit above 15 million naira. So, that's what we hear. People say, and if you look at what the RMAFC asks them to earn, that is not even up to them. I'm even asking, what powers do you have the right to do that? You don't fix your salaries. Your salaries are fixed by a government agency. So how do you wake up one morning without the approval of the government agencies to say we're going to get 50% of our salary? It just sounds more like a Greek gift. It doesn't sound like something that I don't think was well thought out. If the National Assembly want to have a big conversation, let's look at the whole size of the budget. The National Assembly will significantly increase its budget from around 230 billion to 547 billion. Added a whole lot of projects, its hospitals, its libraries, and different items. Apart from that, there's 100 billion naira that was added as constituency project. Apart from that, they added 2.2 trillion naira worth of projects as constituency project to the budget. Most of them are micro projects that are within their constituency. And we know this, that a lot of the implementation of these projects, they get to nominate, some of the implementers of this project. They put their arm, twist MDAs to get some of these projects to happen. These are, well-known facts, in a way. So and we have a lot of evidence in budget in terms of tracking constituency projects to see that implementation at either be suboptimal, and most times are only just able to advance the political interest of National Assembly members. Yeah, if National Assembly members want to do things right, let them tighten the capital side of the project. Yeah. That is where the problems significantly are. And let them also reduce the budget that goes into the National Assembly. If those things are not happening at the macro level, it's For me, it's not
Okay,
significant.
Mr. Onigbinde, let's quickly manage our time because we'd like you to walk us through which states can pay and which states cannot pay, knowing that there's consequential adjustment, and when this goes to the National Assembly, it becomes an act of parliament that states are bound to pay. But we all know what the realities are in that mix, even from 18,000 naira. But speak to this while you're doing that as well. The Niger state government is saying, look, this state does not rely on FAC to finance its projects or move the state forward. The state governor says categorically, I do not need FAC in Niger state. So based on what you have, the figures that you have of states that are dependent on FAC, state of the states, walk us through maybe a few states that can pay 70,000 naira and states that cannot, so we know which states to keep our eyes on as implementation commences.
I mean, first we'll start with the Niger state government. That's a funny or a clownish statement. There is no subsisting facts. And we can look at those states. Ability of a state to pay minimum wage is not just about money that you receive. You also look at your size of existing operational costs. And if you look at it in terms of what we have observed, we don't have more than 12 states that will be able to pay the minimum wage if the scale is properly applied. I use the word if the scale is properly applied because someone that can be at the level 14 officer and current 140,000 within the current wage structure, and you add 20 or 30,000 naira to that, that doesn't mean that you have applied minimum wage the way it should be. But if you are going to, because if you're doubling if you're doing 1.3% growth, which means technically you are going to at least double your entire wage structure. And if you put that forward, a whole lot of states, so apart from the oil producing states of the rivers, Akwa Ibom, and not even all of them, Edo, which have all this fiscal space, states like Bayelsa, Delta might even struggle to pay that minimum wage, considering the size of their operational cost right now that some of us even don't understand. If you come into the southwest, yes, Lagos State would have capacity to do that well. Ogun should have capacity to do that well. Oyo might struggle a little bit. He has a huge, personnel cost already. So if you don't see 70,000 with implementation, I won't be surprised. The same thing with Osun. Ondo should be able to pay that minimum wage, considering he gets extra money from derivation. And Ekiti might even struggle to pay 70,000 minimum wage too. Let's be realistic. Because some of these states also do not have significant jumps in their IGR. Most of the states in the north have low personnel costs relative to states in the south, and maybe the social service framework there is not as huge. So you might say, but most of them are also not paid the 30,000, only paying 30,000 or near amount about that. So I don't think a lot of them will also be able to pay that. And let's not forget that capital expenditures have also risen. I mean, so if it costs you maybe 100 million naira to build a road today, it might cost
Thank you very much, Mr.
Onigbinde.
Mr. Abbas, I'm just going to give you 5 seconds to finish this. Just in seconds, please, Mr. Abbas. Your final words. Professor Abbas.
Well, thank you very much. Look, I think what is important for us to always remember is that at the end of the day, the masses they bear the brunt of some of these policies. And they depend on the national parliament, first and foremost, because they are the elected representatives of the people. And the national parliament will have to rise to the challenge to be able to come to people's aid. And also, let us don't forget of the fact that
all right,
there is deficit of trust in government, and government can shore up that by making sure that they embark on people-centric policies that will, at the end of the day, help people. I think that is, and finally we have to remember that we only have one country. We don't have another country to go. So we all have to work together to make sure this country survives. That is our ultimate.
Thank you very much. That's a good place to end it. Professor Ademola Abbas is a professor of international law and global affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. And we had Seun Onigbinde, co-founder, Budget. Thanks a lot for your time on the morning brief. I guess we'll definitely be finding a balance in all of this as we move ahead. Thanks a lot again. All right. Next on the show, we'll be talking about state performance in entertainment in Nigeria. But before then, we'll be getting your reactions from this. And Kayode and Bukola, I guess we'll be taking the reactions right now because people are talking about the minimum wage.
Jacob from Jos has the first one. Here's what Jacob says. Even if the minimum wage is raised to 200,000 naira, it still won't make much sense. The government and people should know this. It's not about increasing the amount, it's about fixing the economy.
And that's Jacob from Jos. This one is from Yakubu Ajang, who is also from Jos, Unijos to be precise. And he says, the previous 30,000 naira minimum wage was not fully paid. I pray government fulfills their promise as publicly declared. Oh, sorry, that is Ani Baba. So, and you have the one from Yakubu.
All right, to be fair to the federal government, it's a reasonable increase from where it was, but to really feel the impact will depend on supporting other aspects of livelihood, such as transportation and food inflation, among others. Otherwise, it will be impactless. Then, please, where is the money that reps are forfeiting supposed to go to? That's a big question. And finally, what is the 70K, that's 70,000 naira in this present economy? Can 70,000 naira pay rent, pay school fees, and buy food? I do not know how the landlords will be increasing house rent recently. I mean, a lot of them have been increasing, but at the end of the day, we'll have to survive and find...
Yeah, absolutely. Find a way. George from Lokoja has that one. And finally, Oladipupo Oshijonwo from Oyinbo. Quite a number, but let's run through. It says, while appreciating both the federal government and the labor officials on the outcome of the minimum wage saga, what is the federal government doing to ensure state governments comply with this? Well, we'll see.
All right, we'll definitely see all of this. And thank you so much for sending in your messages. We'll definitely go on a short break now, but we have state drama and entertainment coming up next, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. So this segment is dedicated to the celebration of one of our national jewels, and I'm talking about Professor Wole Soyinka. So what's your favorite Soyinka play from when you were in secondary school? Was it The Trials of Brother Jero, or was it Death and the King's Horseman? And what's your favorite line from your favorite poem written by the Nobel laureate himself, Professor Soyinka? Let us know in your conversations. But there's been quite a flurry of activities held this July in honor of our Nobel laureate. And joining us to talk about some of those activities, we have Mr. Cash Onodele Ayekoto, who is a Yoruba storyteller and playwright and poet, who joins us here in our Lagos studio. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And we also have joining us Mr. Seyi Fashui, who is an actor and the lead actor in the Noble Warrior Eni Ogo, the play held this year to honor Professor Soyinka. So good morning and welcome, gentlemen, to the program.
Thank you.
I mean, it seems an ideal place to start. A lot has been said about this generation and how perhaps they're not quite acquainted with the magnitude of the stardom that Professor Soyinka brings on, and his contributions also to national development. So help us understand, and it could also be a form of education, for them about the virtues from this play, that celebrates, Professor Soyinka as a national jewel.
I'm going to start it with a paraphrase from Professor Wole Soyinka. He once said, "Every soul has a shell." I had to distill this in order to understand that the simple statement is actually very complex, and that underlines and answers your question. Where is the soul born? Which milieu is it born? That talks to our identity, right? When you think of what shapes the soul, that talks to our culture. When you talk about what stirs the soul, that talks about our relationship, our passions, right? Romance, love, hate, family, talks about all of that. And when you think about what does this soul leave behind before it exits, that talks about heritage. Those are the things a global icon and an ambassador of culture like Professor Wole Soyinka, that is what he stands for.
Quite a lot to chew on there. I wonder if you have any reactions to that as well, sir.
Yes, as sage, Wole Soyinka is a national icon, particularly in the cultural sector. Of course, it's also very relevant in the political structure of the country itself. He's a crusader, as a poet. He's someone that has contributed meaningfully to the development of arts and culture, and in fact, the country itself. So celebrating him, definitely, it's something with, it's an honor actually to be 90. We all pray to be 90 and still living and still agile, moving around the entire continent. And he's also the Nobel laureate. So what he has contributed thus far, it's something that needs to be emulated, by the younger ones, read through it and know how passionate he was, even up to now, in terms of contributing to arts and culture and development of the country itself.
Absolutely. And arts and culture is quite vast, really. And if there's any mining ground for it globally, I think we have it in large measure. Whether or not we've been able to translate that into, bettering our image, creative economy, and all of that, it's another conversation entirely. But we're trying to have this one around, thespians, stage play, the craft of it, patronage or otherwise, because it's one sector that a lot of work goes into it. But you tell us, what do you get from it? So we want to talk about the state of stage performance in Nigeria today, as at today. The venues, I know money will still be the major part of it, but don't let me preempt you. Speak to us about the current state. If you could put this in a sentence, how would you describe it?
A sentence, that'll be a mouthful. As the producer of the Noble Warrior, which is my current experience, because I wrote the play and I'm also the producer. Top issues, simple sentence to summarize it: we need a renaissance of theater. Just for a statement.
I'm trying to digest it. Because look at Broadway, for example.
Yes.
And you see how much a ticket costs.
Yes.
But you come here and you are begging people to purchase tickets for
we're begging people to fund us. We're begging people to take little pays to act. And we're begging people to pay little just to come through the doors. We are in need of renaissance. Our industry is in need of renaissance.
What would that renaissance look like? Particularly for those who are saying, I don't even know what the word renaissance means. Talk more what it means for this sector. So let's just have a conversation. What would it take? And from you to him.
Okay, do you want to start with the experience of actors? I mean, but I can start from the big picture.
Broad view, okay, we can trickle down.
We need a new setting. We need to reset. We need. I know everything. Sometimes it sounds like we're asking too much when we say government involvement, but we need the leadership of government. We need opportunities that create inflows from like organizations like FXIM, who are saying, yes, we want to fund the creative sector. We need a lot of collaboration with CBAC. We're lucky to have endorsement on our own program, but we need funding and organization and collaboration with actors, thespians, dancers, a whole retinue of people who wish to be in this industry but are not actually getting funded. And we need the corporate world. I mean, we're lucky. We had about 6 corporate supporters of this in particular project. But that's not even up to half of what we need to get there. We need some angel investors like Synctos and all sorts of angel investors who want to come into the industry, help to mature the industry. You mentioned venues. You cannot go Lagos and Abuja, maybe. I think I was talking to Edo State, and they said they are trying to build something new. I am not sure any other state is coming up with a 1,500, 2,000 seater theater, which is modern, which is easily seen. Like you said, Broadway is a whole street in New York of theaters. We need something like that. One whole street theaters, and we can tap in. Nigerians are very creative. Absolutely. But we're not tapping into it.
And that tickles the imagination.
I think he wanted to speak as an actor. You are right in the middle of it, so.
Yes, actually, I will term us like endangered species. Strangely so, because from where we're coming from, I've been in the field close to about 4 decades now.
4 decades?
Yeah, so senator, in a way. So over time, we've seen how things started when there was no home video. Stage was the in thing then. Go to the National Theatre, see the Larry Jones moving around. So that was the in thing. Market Square were storytellers. Along the way, the home video emerged, and it took over everything, because why? People can relax in their homes. And now, instead of coming to the venue to go on transport and so many things, security and go, they can relax in their home and just watch home video. And then there's a laxity to come to venues and go. So it impacted also in terms of audience participation, in terms of sponsorship, in terms of venue, in terms of, and which trickled down to also payments in terms of artists that go to. Now, I can say there is a resurgence, to be fair. It needs more intervention. We see more producers, more people coming in. I mean, this year, for instance, now we've been busy throughout the year, January, February, March, up to now. So actually, there is a resurgence. However, we need more intervention, particularly from the government side, in terms of funding and collaborations. As this mentioned, there are some banks, for instance, now there should be such intervention also from those agencies into the theater and the theater world. So it's something that has to be a collaboration. Going from the private sector too, we need everybody to key in, because in reality, that is where you see the most professionals. No stop, no cuts, no anything. Just if you get on stage, is there, you have to face anything,
it's
live.
Raw. And
it's raw. So you must be at your A game. So, I mean, that is why something is putting up now, the Nobel Warrior and Ogun is something unique to celebrate our Nobel laureates. And it's unique, it's fresh actually, it's new. It's a live performances, live, it's called music. The guitar, the piano, the trumpet, live band actually, playing alongside the actors and actresses. We see a medley, music, dance, drama, all rolled into one. Actually, it's fresh, it's new. not been seen before. I can tell you that. So
and we're going to see you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm the lead character.
We just saw you. We just saw a snippet of you.
Yeah. You see me. I might not like my character because he's a bad guy. He created the bad guy.
So, Mr. Fashi, as the bad guy in all of this, you're an actor, which means, and I like the fact you said 4 decades, right? Over 40 years in this business. So you know what it means to be an actor. Now I would want to ask, for anyone watching right now who thinks, oh, stage play, most people just act movies, and some people can act in 3 days, the movie is out, and you're wondering, what kind of work went into this movie? What story are you trying to tell? And I mean, I don't know if we're getting it right in that sector in Nollywood, but as a stage performer, what does it take to be a stage drama performer?
Wow, that's a huge question. To start with, you can be trained formally in terms of going to the university. I went to University of Ilorin. I was lucky to be trained by the late Professor Mrs. Julie Shofola, Professor of Ilorin. So we went to, as a thespian. Then you can also train under some professional houses, people who have gathered experiences over the years, and grown their arts, to a particular level. Now, then the professional level is more deeper, because you have to dig in, you have to gather enough of experience by plays, by a lot of training comes to fore, and your intuition as an artist too. So it's deep, but as I said, generally in the world, you need to add value to what you're doing. You need to understand what you're doing, because each project, each play comes with its own challenges, its own kind of role, its own kind of vision, and you are communicating to the audience. You want them to listen to you. You want them to understand you. You are an educator. You are codifying history. It's a didactic process. So it's a whole lot you are dealing with. So when you're on stage, it's alive. No cuts, no edits, as I said before. The creative industry has come to stay in terms of the videos and the films and as I mentioned also too, it's also getting better. Not as it was before, when they're just shooting with one camera and just say cut and shoot. It's getting better. People coming around from the abroad also too, also interjecting too into the field too. So the stage drama, it's where you put in your A game. It's live, and you need to be at top notch to be able to perform wonderfully, as an educator.
If I can add to that, to buttress what you said, what went into this? This is a 40-character play, and it took taking everybody to a camp where they rehearse non-stop. Well, continually, let me say non-stop, continually for 30 days, a camp. And each of them came with experiences, like you said, and on top of that, the artistic director had to guide them through being here. And it takes a lot. It takes a whole lot.
And I'd just like to stay with that for a bit, because I remember when you were talking earlier, you talked about the need for a renaissance.
Yes.
And, earlier on, I recall that there was an artist village at the National Theatre. I don't know if it's still there, where actors, thespians converged, for stage plays, for rehearsals. It was basically a training entrepot of some sorts for artists. And you would know, having been in the, business, in the field for 4 decades. And there was also that melting point for poets, the Committee for Relevant Arts, where they, converged, for a poetry festival. I wonder if we still have that. Is that ground still thriving for, the building of the convergence of Nigeria's culture and arts, the celebration of it, the festival of it? And if it's not there anymore, what are we missing, by that convergence, particularly because your play has gotten the support of, sponsors. So what are we missing in Nigeria's theatre industry? I'd like you to speak to that.
Wow. I know the place very well. And I will not mince word when I say it's dead. Sincerely.
The artist village.
Yeah, it's still there. As in some you see some remnants, some people, but the real value is not there again in terms of, it's a government-owned institution, which is the National Council for Arts and Culture, which is also in the in terms of the space of national theatre. There's national theatre. There's a big renaissance going on there. That's been rebuilt, been repackaged. I'm sure very soon now it will open up to large followership. So it has not trickled down to the NCAC. We mentioned the artist village. You mentioned actually. We hope in the long run, because now there's also a train station there. There's nuns there. So the value system that is supposed to be in that ensemble, which is where the poets, the musicians, the actors, they reside actually in that place. There's a small spaces there that we can also perform to. Over time, because of public policies, I think there's an attempt to pull that place down, which it's not been right with the artists generally. I've been there, I've seen it. So I think in reality we need more intervention that people from government, particularly to create sort of spaces so that people will have an ensemble and a good setting to be creative, because we are visionaries. We are visionaries, and being visionaries, you speak about the country, about the people, about the culture, and you must know where you're coming from to know where you're going to. So a country bereft of culture and arts and culture, it's going nowhere. Now, so as we said, we need more of such spaces to thrive. Right. We need government to come in. We need also corporate agencies to also step into. The National Theatre used to be something like that. Abegi and in fact, all the surrounding places in terms of the structure itself used to be every corner. Entrances, people are playing, people are dancing to the thing. But when commercialization came in, they were all ejected of that space. So I think that particular place mentioned, Artist Village, needs a serious thought by the federal government to go in there and make that place a better space.
There you go. Yeah. So, this is declare state of emergency for food, education. Maybe we should declare state of emergency for this sector as well. Yes. And that's not just saying it by saying it's a big deal. So let's wind down with this. We say that there's lots of potentials, and you're trying to push some of them out. You are also a Yoruba storyteller. So you're basically tapping into the culture and telling the story, presenting it, to the people out there. I don't know what the reception has been, but I know that gradually we're seeing even, big companies from out there coming in to tap stories from here. So I think that speaks to that. But let's be practical, really. And investors are listening. People that have money just sitting somewhere, they're listening. And I think
I hope so.
No, they are actually, because there's always money to invest. The question is, where will they invest the money into, and they will get return. So if we were to maybe do like an elevator pitch, except that this is like a morning brief pitch, what are the viable areas, the value chains that you have seen that we can maybe tap into and get good returns for Nigeria's Broadway?
I think first, a play like this, right? Where
am I not surprised?
Okay, no, but seriously, we are losing our identity. Our identity is being eroded, our culture and our heritage on a daily basis. Our children are on TikTok, social media. They are not learning about who they are. And it means if you don't know enough about who you are, you're going to get lost. There was a time someone called me and told me all Nigerian youth are Malians and all that. But everybody always compares with the past. It was never like that in the past. But if we do not sow the heritage into them, they're never going to... They don't know anything about the Orishas in Yoruba land.
So can a movie on Orishas a stage production on Orishas, can it make ₦1 billion, for example?
You can make more than that. Because it's about how you package this, right? Whether you package it on the stage and you're able to do a road show in 20 cities, you're going to make this. They are curious. It's not that they're not curious, but where are the stories? They're not hearing these stories. I have on my desk right now 2 main stories about the beginning, our own Genesis, not the biblical Genesis, Akoni Ogun, and I have another one, which is what happened at Koso Shongoko. So, but the question is this: who is going to sponsor this?
I remember that.
How do we package this, right? So these are interesting stories that if they learn it, they will definitely come around it. And who is coming around it faster than our children? Cuba, Brazil, Portugal. I mean, really, if we can package this right, with the right support, with the right finance in the business, we can take these stories and our children can learn their heritage. They can, I mean, one of the things I did in this play was I made the naive, beautiful woman kept telling everybody, I am the daughter of Oluwabi, right?
That's from Omoluabi.
Omoluabi, right? So that she's trying to make a statement. I know who I am. But many of this generation, we are not helping them to understand who they are. If we have this kind of plays run 2.5 years on Broadway, right? If they are of the opportunity, families can go together to theaters. Well, now the new one is called Wole Soyinka Center. So hopefully that means it's coming closer to us as artists in the business. We can start. I mean, I'm sure there are many people who have tales from their grandfathers, never listened. That was why I moved away from being a general storyteller to a Yoruba storyteller.
Right. And that speaks the potential of that Nigerian Broadway, the renaissance at the National Theatre that we hope to see if we have more visionaries. We're totally out of time. Just very quickly, is the play still showing The Noble Warrior, a tribute to Professor Wole Soyinka?
Yes, this tribute to Professor Wole Soyinka is still showing in Muson Center, 20th and 21st. Right, of this month.
July.
Yes, in 2 days' time and 3 days' time, Saturday and Sunday. We got 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. shows. And
it's a complete ensemble of song, dance,
you're
drama.
Gonna love it.
All right.
Absolutely love it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Seyi Fasuyi, actor and lead actor in The Noble Warrior, Eni Ogun. And we've also had Mr. Cash Onodele, Ayekuto, Yoruba storyteller, playwright and poet. Ayekuto, by the way, means?
Ayekuto. The world rejects the truth, and accepts untruth.
Yeah, something to reflect on. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you so much.
And we switch gears now to Friday Fitness. So join us. You don't want to miss out on this. We'll be right back.
Let's get the ball rolling, shall we? Well, obviously there's a ball here, and we're going to be, maybe not rolling it, we'll be using it for exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Coach Beauty Musa. She's a trainer at Aerobics and Beauty Spa. Coach Beauty, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing so well.
So we've got this red ball, that gray ball, and another red ball. Why do we have this ball?
Okay. These are called fit balls.
Right.
They're also known as stability balls.
Right.
Yeah, and I actually had to come with it today because we need to add fun into fitness.
Yeah.
The benefit of adding fit balls into your exercise regimen is going to not only improve your core strength, it's also going to enhance your coordination and ability to have your balance. And then it has a way of increasing your flexibility. And then it reduces the pains that most people start feeling, especially when they are getting older. People start complaining about knee pains and other pains. So because it's going to strengthen your core, it has a way of reducing all these pains, especially when you're sitting on it and bouncing on it. There are a dynamic movement range that one could do with this fit ball. So it's something that you should have at home and to use for exercising. So we are going to be using this today.
I love the fact that it looks fun, and I think that's what you try to do a lot. So we're getting into summer, and there's a lot of people who want to have the summer fun, but not to forget that there should be the fitness part of it as well. So Coach, what do we do?
What are we doing with this ball?
We are going to be working out with the fit ball. So can we start now?
Absolutely.
Yes, let's start with warm-ups, you know. First of all, please, before you engage in any form of exercise regimen, make sure you get a clear and okay from your healthcare.
We always
get
say
an okay
that.
from your doctor before engaging in any form of exercise regimen. If you're over 50, make sure you get a clear from your doctor before engaging in this. So we're going to start with warm-up. Okay. So you're going to put your legs about further away from your shoulder width apart. I'll need you to just place one of your arms on your waistline. The other arm is on the ball. Just stretch it forward. We are starting with warm-up, so we are going to be doing this. Now, this hand on your waist, you take it back, and they just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is this like a woman-only routine?
7,
or
8,
men can also do
9.
this?
Men really need the fit ball. Now, roll it towards yourself. Now, the other arms, and then take the other one back, and then just take it forward. 1, 2, 3. Remember, I said it enhances flexibility. 6, 7, 8, 9. And 10. Very good. Now I need you to squat down. Then you're just going to twist it towards the other side. Good. And that's good. Well done. That's it. That's it. Just hold it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you're going to roll to the other side. Make sure you're giving a squat. Okay, squat properly. You feel it. You feel it. It really feels good. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Now come up. Now I need you to now hold it up there. Just hold it up there. Now I need you to just twist and then flex your knees down. Hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, you're not rocking hand. Just hold it down there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and down.
Carry the globe, the whole world on hands.
Now take it up.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I need you to just put it down there.
This really feels good.
It really feels good. And it's fun.
Yeah,
when you engage in fit ball exercise, it's engaging and it's fun. You know, so now we are going to sit on the ball.
Now this is interesting. This is the sitting part.
The interesting part. Yeah. Now you're going to stretch your legs out. You feel really good. This is the part where I say it actually helps to improve your spine and your posture.
Can I just say something? This is my producer. Maybe one of the days we'll have this as our set chair. We'll just sit on this position.
It's relieving when you sit on it, honestly. It's really relieving. So I need you to flex your right leg out this way, okay? And then just place your knees there. It's really relaxing, very, very relaxing. Just stretch it out there. 1, 2, 3, good. 4, and 5. Now to the other side, you're rolling out, roll it out. Annie, you're doing so well. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very
So the ball sort of gives you that lucid feel and just holds you as well as keeps you.
It does. And it doesn't bust. Don't be scared. It doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
No matter how big you are.
No matter how big you are.
There you
if you
go.
have this, it doesn't bust. So
I've had mine for 10 years actually, so.
Oh, you have yours. You can imagine, and it lasts so long. You know, just make sure you get the original. Okay. Now, this is the activity that we usually prescribe for elderly people to do, bouncing on it. It helps to realign their spine and helps to reduce the pains, all this arthritis pain. So you get them a ball to bounce up like that. So we're going to be doing that. Now control, we talked about balance and control. So you're going to come up like that. 1 up, 1 up. Let it bounce up. It won't bounce, don't worry. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you're going to take your arms up. 1, 2. We are walking the core alongside. 3, 4.
Let the ball do some of the bouncing for you.
Good. 6, yes. 7, 8, 9, 10 more. 1. It's so relaxing. 4. And tighten your stomach. Okay. 6.
All right.
7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. We had an elderly.
Keep going on this.
Yeah.
Feels so
You don't want to
good.
stop. We had a 70-year-old woman that couldn't walk properly,
Wow.
and we made her bounce on this every day.
Come on.
And within 3 months, the woman could ride the elliptical bike for 30 minutes because all the pains were gone just within 3 months of bouncing, just bouncing. But we you know, there are elderly people. We were holding her hand.
Yeah.
We make her bounce on it and come up. You know, so this is actually a very good fitness thing to have in your house. Okay?
I also notice sometimes when pregnant women are in labor, they give them this ball, this sit ball. So what's that? What's behind that one?
It's helping to like strengthen the pelvic floor to allow them
the baby.
push. So when it's strengthening your pelvic floor, it's just to allow the baby to come out well. So fit balls are a very good fitness equipment to have in your home. So we are going to do the bouncing
and
again.
ensure that you get medical advice, particularly for the elderly.
Exactly.
So don't just do it willy-nilly. Get the right advice, as she always says.
Exactly. So now we are going to be bouncing and stretching sideways, okay? Now, we talked about coordination and so you're going to struggle for balance and struggle for balance, but make sure your legs are well spread out.
Okay, so I don't fall on national television.
It actually improves your balance. So you'll be able to control that balance. So we are still bouncing, but when you're bouncing up, you stretch your arms sideways, okay? Bounce side. Let's go. 1, let's go. 2, go. 3, 4, good. 5, good. 6, good. 7, beautiful. 8, 9, and you're good. Good.
Thank
10,
you.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Just relax. Now just stretch sideways like you're gliding, you know, like you're gliding. Just glide. 1, 2. Yeah, let's glide. 3, 4. It's like
ballet.
Coyote like
ballet.
Well, I see my daughter doing a lot of ballet these days, so
9,
I have a choice.
10, 1, 2, and 3. That was really very good. All right. We are still bouncing though.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Beauty taking us through the routine with the fit ball. You should get it. Also get medical advice, but I tell you, this makes your routine easier. Coach Beauty, what's going on this summer, really?
Yes.
We need to get fit this summer.
Children are going on holidays, so parents shouldn't give us excuses. Your adult children should engage in fitness. Get to a gym if you cannot do something at home. Just give yourself that plan. Give yourself a plan and a target. So make sure you hit your fitness target before summer ends, before these kids resume their school.
Right.
So like we at our gym, we are doing a summer boot camp that is starting on Monday, and we are going to be doing a wide range of this. You see pattern row, people running on the treadmill. You're going to have targets, very, very fun, interesting kind of thing. So try and get to a gym and make sure you start a regiment to help you.
There you go. So summer is not just for fun, it is for fitness. So do the fun and do the fitness part. Coach Beauty, what else do we have for this ball today?
We are still bouncing.
Just bounce along, bounce along.
I can get used to this.
Yeah, we are still
bouncing. So my producer says it's approved, by the way. So I look forward to having this ball.
Okay. All right. So we are bouncing and closing. Hands together. Bounce and out. In and out. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tighten your core.
Tighten your core.
6,
7, 8, 9, 10, and stop. We don't want somebody falling. Start. No, you really tried. You really tried. Now separate your legs again. Okay. So we are going to be working the core love handles.
There you go.
While you're bouncing now, you go side. 1, bounce. 2, good. 3, go. 4, good. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right.
Let me give 2 more for Bukola.
Yeah, for Bukola. Now let's just stretch it out. Separate your legs properly. Now take it back. Good. Bring it up. And down.
Coach Beauty Musa.
Thank you.
What a pleasure it's been, especially for this period. I know there's a lot, but maybe now that minimum wage has increased, people can afford this ball.
Yes.
I don't know if you'll be spending your extra wage on the ball, but Coach Beauty, we have to thank you so much. Clearly, there's a lot happening this summer, and we look forward to it. Look forward to having you from time to time as well. We've been speaking with Coach Beauty Musa, and she's been taking us through this fitness procedure, exercise regimen using the Fit Ball. People have this in their offices, by the way. You see this in offices.
It's very easy to deflate also, and then you have to get the device to inflate and carry it around. You could travel with it too.
Yes, I actually had to
very
compete
easy
when we brought it here.
Yes.
So please try as much as possible to stay fit. There's a lot of talk about the economy. Yes, we know, but you also have to put a lot into your body so you can go out there, make the money that you need. We'd like to thank you once again, Coach Beauty Musa. She's the fitness instructor at Aerobics and Beauty Spa. Thank you for your time.
All right.
We have to run now. Obviously, we'll be spending some more time with this ball. Coach Beauty, have your seat, Just
have
stay
your
there.
seat. Have
let's
your
close.
seat.
So on behalf of everyone, let's thank you so much for being a part of the show. Bukola sends her hello. So have a great
Bukola has been
weekend.
exercising beside us, so don't worry. She's part of this.
She's part of this.
So have a great weekend. Stay fit. Sunrise Daily is next. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
All right, we'll see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
And Bukola says goodbye.